up, folks? Sean the Average Angler coming at you with another great video. And today we got a really good one focusing on January bass fishing. Could be December. We're at the end of the month. And really, for me, the season kind of kicks off in January, okay? The holidays are over. It's time to get back to business. And when we get back to business, most of the time, those fish are not in the best mood, okay? It's going to be the coldest months of the year. Typically, depending on where you live, generally brings much tougher conditions. The bass are a little bit lethargic, but it is January, and we're going to start moving towards these fish needing to get ready for the pre-spawn. So there is some hope. Today we are going to go over a technique, rigging method, all of it, the whole setup to help you catch more fish. And this is really a very simple technique to do. Like I said, often overlooked, and we just tend to fish too fast. Let's get into it here. If you like this kind of content, hit the subscribe button down there. Join the community where we talk fishing techniques, bait reviews, rod reviews, reel reviews. I try and help set you guys up with as much knowledge so that you're not wasting money on things. Not much. All right. Okay. So today we are going to talk about the shaky head and why I've really dialed into what I use. Now I've got a whole bunch here, and I will still use some of these on occasion. Okay, this is one I used for years and years. That's the owner. Okay, it's a great head, to be quite honest with you, and really good for plastic baits, but I've got some better stuff. This is a good strong hook. All of it's there, and they come in an assortment of sizes all the way up to this beast right here, which I think is a 3/8, which for me, 3/8 would be a very heavy shaky head. I tend to fish other stuff when I get into the real big things. Anyway, there are two that I've really narrowed it down to. Two, I can't narrow it down to one because it foots the bill for what we're trying to do. The first one, that they're stand-up heads, okay? This one happens to be the Frenzy Baits Nail. Now, oftentimes you can get them on Tackle Warehouse. Right now, the 1/4 ounce, which is my favorite, is sold out. Well, and for good reason. It is January. Tournament season's getting ready to start up where I live. And, well, that's a very popular head for where the tournaments start out. Now, here's the other one, okay? You're going to see some similarities here and some differences. Again, this is the Bass Union head. Comes with that EWG hook, but there's some really special things about this we're going to get into later in the video. But you'll see it has the profile of standing the bait up a little more this way than that owner head, which is going to have the bait a little lower. If we get it up more like this, the presentation for what we're going to be doing is just better. I'm going to show you some other really cool things about that Bass Union head. Joseph, the owner of Bass Union, really put some creative thinking and problem solving into that. One of the key things we need is we need a worm that is buoyant. Doesn't necessarily need to be sink it to the bottom, then it's going to float up to the top, although this one will do that. This is the Fatty Z by Zman. It is a Laztec. This worm is just phenomenal for this technique. And again, we're going to get into why in a minute here, but this worm is fantastic. And I do have alternatives here. I have this one here. This is a Phat Pack's Slinky worm. You'll see down there. And the nice thing about Phat Packs, they come in different sizes. This pack happens to be a 20 pack. Very similar to that of a trick worm, only it's got this little bit of a bulbous tail back here and just fantastic colors. Now, I picked two colors for you guys. This one happens to be a little bit more subtle, and I think most people will find this to be a successful color. It is green pumpkin with purple flake. And it's not overdone with flake. That's one pet peeve I have with some baits. If they have too much flake, it just kind of takes away from the realisticness of the bait in my eyes. Now, I am a fisherman. I get caught by lures just like the rest of us. Let's get into this. Now, you can fish the Fatty Z on either head. It works well on both. I do fish it on both, but my first option is going to be that Frenzy head. Part of the reason why is this hook keeper here. And I want to tell you, when you're rigging this bait on this hook keeper, You want to try and get a chunk of the bait to fill this little gap. So we're gonna very simply go into the bait, come out the bottom of the bait like that. And I'm gonna show you a great way, because the last tech can be a pain in the butt to get these on the hook. Okay, now we're here where we need to pull it up. So you just wanna grab the bottom, stretch it down, slide it up, and there you have it. It's there. So we got a nice full piece of plastic there. That's going to keep your bait really secure. And then we're simply just going to back that up a little bit, put it in there, and we have a nice straight bait ready to rock and roll and catch us some fish. The technique, what we're going to do with this bait, not much. Okay, that's one of the secrets to fishing in the wintertime, when those fish are a little more lethargic, not really in the mood, they're a little slower, and quite honestly, everything else in their world is a little slower. The bait fish aren't moving around as much, bluegill aren't moving around as much, the crawdads, if they're even out, again, not moving around as much. Now, the reason I like this worm so much is because of the Elastec material. When it's sitting dead stick in the water, it's still moving very, very slowly to the pace or movement of the water. You say, what movement? It's down in the bottom of the lake. Most lakes have some sort of current or wave activity, whether it be from wind, whether it be from other boats. There is natural movement in the lake and current, right? If their water's coming in, they're pulling water out, we have some natural current in the lake. That's going to give us a nice subtle, slow waving action of the bait. Now, the other thing we're going to do is we're going to get a little bit more exaggerated of that when we do move the bait. But for the most part, we're going to not do a whole lot to it. Okay, we're going to cast it out, let it go to bottom, let it hang out for a minute. And if you guys want to see how these move in the water, I do have some videos in the pool that I will try and look up and link so you can see what they do, because it's really eye-opening to know what your baits are doing in the water. But they just move very subtly, kind of back and forth, however that water's moving. And I've used in the pool, I'll push the water with something and then you can see what it does. We're gonna let it sit for 5, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, whatever you can tolerate. And then we're just going to slide that bait about a foot. Now, the gear you're using when doing this is important, because otherwise it's pretty easy to overdo it, or perhaps not even feel that a fish has already picked that bait up and is holding on to it. All right, now our alternative, the Bass Union head. And when do I use the Bass Union head? Number one, if I want to use the Slinky worm, I use the Bass Union head, because this is a little thinner head. And I can use it on that frenzy head, but I cut some off, okay, just to get to a little fatter part of the worm. But this is just a typical EWG rigging on here, okay, very simple. Again, we want to get something to fill that up. I grabbed a little bit too much plastic there, so I'm going to have to pull that back down. That's better. We want to fill that gap up, you'll see there, because that's going to help keep your worm in place. Now this one, I want to Texpose it, okay, which means I'm going to put the hook all the way out and then just barely skin hook it in there like so. Okay, again, for those that don't know, the Phat Pack Slinky worm is buoyant. It floats. This thing is going to stand out like this, okay? It's not going to stand the head up. A lot of times the Fatty Z will stand this head up, but it is going to be something like this. Now, why do we want that? That profile is going to be more visible than something just laying on the bottom. Not only the profile, but because of that being up, if it's on the bottom, the bait can't move. With it up like that, it's going to move around subtly and entice those fish into biting. These are brands I like. There are some other brands out there. One that comes to mind is the X-Zone Deception worm. I know that's a popular one with a lot of guys, but most worms won't stand up on these heads unless you continue to move them. That kind of defeats the purpose in my mind. I want to be able to dead stick that bait and still get movement out of it, Very subtle movement. We don't want too much. Most worms, including robo, sink. The robo worm does not float. Again, I did all this stuff in the pool months ago and was really surprised at some of the brands that did and didn't do what I was expecting. Some of those were my fault. Some of them were advertised. The Yamamoto Sensei worm claims to be neutrally buoyant. Well, the problem with being neutrally buoyant is the water temperature has to be perfect for that to happen. Now, I still question that because I did a video on that one too, and it sank like a brick with nothing on it. So I don't really know what neutrally buoyant means to them. It went straight to the bottom. Not knocking Yamamoto baits. I love Yamamoto baits, but not everything is good. And to me, that worm's not good. All right, so another color that I do use, and this is if the water gets a little bit dirtier, I'm gonna go to this one, Purple Pumpkin Eater, okay? It's very much a PB&J, if you will. And you'll notice that the Z-Man that I pulled out and showed you, also a PB&J. So we're going to continue to just move it about a foot, let it sit 5-10 seconds, move it again. When we're moving it, it's going to get that bait moving a little more. As it comes to a stop, it's gonna rebound, come up, and it's gonna just wave at that fish. Just imagine that worm's waving at the fish there for a little bit. This is what's gonna entice them into biting. Now, a lot of times fish will spook, they'll swim off, and then they'll come back, and if the bait's still in the area, then they're much more apt to eat it. This is what happens when fish start to learn and get trained by so many anglers throwing things at them. Very common thing when fish are bedding, if you ever run into that experience. So our gear, I'm gonna fish this on a spinning rod. I really want the sensitivity. I want a nice soft tip so that I'm not over moving the bait, and because I want that fish to be able to suck that bait up and start to load the rod before he knows I'm there. Here you see, I have one on my rod. This is on my rod at all times right now. I don't leave home without it. It's kind of like the American Express card. I don't even carry my American Express, but anyway. I do not leave home without this, all right? It's just caught me too many really good fish. And the crazy thing is, a lot of times when they're hitting this one, and this color's called the Deal. It's kind of a bait fish type color, sort of green pumpkin on top, pearlish on the bottom with some purple and black flake in it. My lake, they really, really like this color. That's why it's on there. So getting back to the rod, I've got 13-pound sinking braid on here to a 10-pound or 8-pound 100% Berkley fluorocarbon leader. I just love that. If you guys are new to the channel, I love the Berkley 100% fluorocarbon, especially for leader material because it's super strong, super abrasion resistant, ties great knots, just doesn't let me down. I will say it's a little bit thicker than other competitive brands for the same pound test. Yeah, it is what it is. Works the way I want it to, and I have a lot of confidence in it. The rod, as I said, this has a very soft tip. Okay, it bends down the rod quite a bit. This is an Irod 731. It is a medium light, 7'3", medium light, and unlike a lot of brands in their 731, and I'm gonna let you in on a little secret here in a minute, this bends a lot up top, but when you get into the body of the rod, you got it loaded, you're fighting that fish, it has a ton of backbone, and I get fish to the boat way faster than you would think I would with a medium light rod. The designer of this rod, by the way, is a man named Greg Gutierrez. Mr. Gutierrez happened to be the owner of Frenzy Baits, the nail, that shaky head right there. Okay, he lives up near Lake Shasta. Well, he lives in Red Bluff, but he fishes Lake Shasta. He is always a threat when there's a tournament there. Greg knows his stuff. This is not a light wire hook, guys. Okay, this thing's tough. You can fish this on a casting rod also, up to probably 14-pound test. And I do sometimes at Clear Lake, but this hook is very tough. Very well-designed head. And that rod, he designed around that shaky head. So it works good for a lot of other things also. That's my preferred rod for that shaky head, especially in the wintertime. Now, as we get closer towards spring, pre-spawn, say March, I'm gonna switch it to the 722, which is a medium spinning rod. I'm going to bump up to 10-pound test, maybe even 12, depending on where I'm at, because I need some more backbone. The fish get a little tougher. They're a little hotter. I want a little bit more pulling power. Even though I could do it with this, I just don't need to because the fish are more aggressive. As we get into the Bass Union head, I want you to look at the line from the point to the head here, and you're going to notice, let me see, yep, there you go. Now, do you guys see it? That point is tilted out just off center. There's good reason for that, and that's hooking the fish. Joseph found with that hook just tilted out just a little bit, you get a much better hookup percentage. I will say that this head, I don't even know that I've missed a fish with it all year. Like when they eat this, they're hooked. I fish them a lot. Now, one of the highlights of this head, and when I'm going to go to this one over the Frenzy, is when I'm in a lot of rock. This head seems to come through rocky situations a little bit better, and I theorize that it's because of the way it sits. Remember, it sits like so. So with the worm on there and stuff, you got kind of a longer profile. It's not going to fall into small gaps quite as easily as the stand-up head. This head actually comes through rocks pretty well too, but you'll see a smaller surface area down at the bottom, a little bit more prone to falling down into cracks, possibly getting stuck and being lost. Nobody wants to lose baits because then it means we got to buy more. Not only do you lose the head, you lose the bait, and it starts to add up. All right, now the beauty of both of these things here is they're very reasonably priced. Zman Fat Packs, I'll put links in the descriptions for you guys. I don't get anything from it. I'm just trying to help everybody catch more fish. That is my goal here on the Average Angler channel. So to summarize, in January when the water's cold, those fish are in a little bit more of a funk. We really need to slow down and leave that bait in the fish's area a little bit more. A lot of times they're skittish, they're not really aggressive, and they might hear that bait come into their territory and swim off. But if the bait's still there, it doesn't mean you can't move it. You're moving it a foot at a time. This happens fairly quickly. In under a minute, that fish might spook. He's going to take off, swim around, make sure nothing's chasing him, and then he's going to start meandering back over. And if he sees that bait still hanging out in his territory, then he's not quite as worried that it's something coming to get him. Now he's thinking about eating because bass are predators. Good way to get these fish when they're not really feeling like biting. Okay, it's not the time of year where we typically catch 50, 75, 100 fish. I caught 8 fish Sunday when I went out fishing, and I was ecstatic, especially the way I caught them. But I fished about 5 hours and caught 8 fish, and I was extremely happy with that. That's kind of the time of year it is. They were all pretty good fish, nothing giant, nothing small. Keeping it very simple here. These are the baits I use. These are the heads I use. That's the one rod. I've got 3 of them. And you don't have to get the Irod Air. There's also an Irod Gen 3 in the same action. Fabulous. I actually have 2 of those and 1 of the Air. This is a very effective technique that can help you put more fish in the boat, in the kayak, on the bank, whatever it may be. Now, places you want to look for. Really, it's kind of endless. Starting points, I typically like points, the obvious, right? If you can find some subtle things. Hard bottom is generally, and I say this in a lot of my videos, hard bottom is just a bass magnet. But remember, bass want some sort of cover or structure to be around. It just makes them feel more secure. So if you know where something is, if you're fishing from the bank, or if you're in a boat and you're graphing and you find some things that the bass can hide around under, rock piles, an individual rock actually will hold a bass, sometimes more than one. These are the types of places we want to look for. If you're unfamiliar with the body of water, I've always used the theory of I'm going to start near the dam. I've always done well with that theory, and then I can start working away. I try to pick up some keys, try to pick up some clues from the fish, even if I'm just seeing on the graph some things, and then we'll make adjustments and start moving around from there. Thanks for watching. Sean, the Average Angler. We'll see you on the next one.